It has been a year since my legs looked like this. We all thought that quarantine was gonna last like 6, maybe 8 weeks, maybe 3 months. And lo and behold, we got to experience whatever the f 2020 was. And I had decided at the beginning of quarantine that I was not going to shave my legs. And come August, September, October, come the autumn, I decided I was going to try out that Kenzie thing that all of these influencers pushed and promoted. And I thought to myself, this looks scammy. I understand the technology behind IPL. I've seen IPL do things in clinic for people, but for me, I wasn't sure if it was actually going to work, especially because my legs were hairy wookabees. Well, as we approach the fall time season, and it has officially been just about a year since I started using the Kenzie, wanted to look at my leg, the one leg that I actually Kenzied, and see what happened and if this thing actually worked. Now, the whole thing about Kenzie is that they claim, that these results are gonna happen, within like 12 weeks. And that sounds very promising, but you know me, I couldn't just go 12 weeks. I decided to go 52 weeks, a whole year. And I'm the kind of person that I don't actually hate body hair. I think that body hair is a personal choice. It's part of biology. It is what we are. If it weren't for Gillette and the post-war era and, a surplus of shaving razors because of the people that went off to war, women wouldn't feel pressured to remove their body hair at all. But simultaneously, there is something to be said about smooth legs or, not having a sweaty, damp environment in the underarm area. And when I decided to do this, I was looking at the other influencers that I know and love who had really good results. And I decided I'm actually gonna test this out only on one leg and see if it works. So that journey began last year at around this time, and boy, have I learned a lot since then. I've also gone through a lot when it comes to my legs, and I have kept this up pretty regularly with a couple of instances where I did stop or I did do a couple of extra treatments within that month. I watch people like Alana and Car Beauty who have loved this, and when I first started using this, I thought, ooh, scammy. I was like, okay, doesn't seem like anything's happening, and by week 4 or week 5, I was really unimpressed. But as I started to reach week 6 and week 8 and started to kind of run up on that 12-week mark where Kenzie does promise these results, I started noticing something. My leg hair was growing back slower, which was fascinating. Now, when we look at IPL from a scientific perspective, there are reasons that this happens. Specifically, a lot of people confuse IPL for laser. Laser, it is not. It is IPL. It is intense pulse light. And what it does is that it targets the melanin, the pigment in our hair follicles, and basically it like fries them off, and it basically kills them or damages them at the source so that hopefully they don't grow back, or they grow back slower, or they don't grow back at all. Which, foreshadowing, we are going to get to testing. While using this, I also heard about people who burned their skin or about people who had issues with it not flashing. They say that it has 10,000 flashes. Mine is still going strong. Mine is slightly discolored in this area. There's some skin cells and there's some gunk hiding in there, but you know what? The fact that it's worked, and it's like, there's a discount code for like $50 off, but the fact that it's 200 or 300, whereas if you went into office or into clinic, you would be looking at multiple treatments, and you would probably be spending 700 to a couple thousand. I'm like, okay, I can deal with a little bit of gunk. If I can dispose of my toenail clippings properly, I can pull this out with a Q-tip. Like, I can handle. But what was interesting is that in my experience, there were times that it got a little bit warm, but it never actually burned my legs or burned my skin. Now, what did start to happen is that while I was doing kind of my second round, so maybe weeks like 12 to 24, I noticed that I was getting a couple of little bumps on my legs. And remember, I was only doing one leg and I was leaving the other one to its own hairy devices. And that's the thing with IPL, you do have to still shave your legs for the time being, and you can't actually wax or tweeze. And the reason why is because this is targeting that pigment. If you remove the hair completely, there's no pigment to target, but if you shave it, you're actually directing this light right into the skin at that specific wavelength where it can damage or blunt or stop the growth of this hair as quickly. Now, as I continued with my progress, something super interesting is that I almost got like these strips of hair growth. My hair on my one leg started growing extremely slowly, and the other one was still raging like a California wildfire, which yes, there's currently a California wildfire, and it's very hard to breathe outside and there's soot everywhere, but we'll save that complaining for another video. Please do what you can to protect the planet. Eat some vegetables today. That is all. Anyways, I started noticing that like the top of my shin and then by my kneecap and by my ankle or my sock line, my hair was growing back hella fast and hella thick. It was like the wild forest. And the reason why is that I realized when I was doing my IPLing, I normally sit down and like I'll listen to a Double Cleanse podcast episode, right? Or I'll try to catch up on the news or like listen to a lecture. And sometimes I'm just passively IPLing. You can hold it down and it flashes once, or you can hold it down and kind of pull and it has this continual flashing. And so I just normally hold down and pull and I just kind of let it do its thing. And sometimes I'll go, 10, maybe 30 minutes. And I started to realize because I wasn't being super thorough, I was missing my ankles, my kneecaps, and yes, my shins. And it was actually really interesting to see because now I could not only compare one leg to my other leg, but I was comparing these patches that I had chronically missed to the ones that were growing. And I was truthfully shocked that my hair was growing back slower, less thick, more sparse, and like less wiry. I don't even have to shave this leg as much as I used to need to. And unfortunately, because I still had my right leg that I was not IPLing, I was still shaving during this time, which the razor cuts, the nicks, the burns, no fun, I don't like. But that was a part of my experience. And then even as I kind of let them grow out a little bit more, I just compare the leg that I didn't IPL to the one that I do. And I'm like, wow, even when I have some of these areas of hair growth, this is actually really shocking, especially because we know that IPL in clinic doesn't work 100% of the time. Maybe 70 to 80% of people are happy. And then there's like, 20 to 30% who aren't. And the fact that this can be used at home, you can do this on your own time. And that at least in my experience, I've never had IPL in clinic, although I know how it's done. I look at that and I'm like, wow, if you're a candidate, this is not a half bad idea. And that's the other thing, is that this is not going to work for everyone. Let me say, like, honestly, there are leg hairs on my hair that are very dark and contrasty, but there are others that are almost completely sheer. They're like white, and the same hairs are on the same leg. And I've noticed that the IPL does not get those little white hairs. And again, the reason why is because this targets pigment. So the best candidate for this is going to be someone who has a lighter skin tone and dark hair. Unfortunately, if you are a Fitzpatrick type 6, this is not for you. There are YAG lasers, there are Alexandrite lasers. I believe that Kenzie is looking into some sort of alternate technology because I had asked them about that, because it's important that people who have black skin and dark brown skin have options as well. And so those options are either being made by Kenzie, but they do exist elsewhere. But same goes for a Fitzpatrick type 1 who has like red hair or blonde hair on your legs. This is not going to work. And so the ideal candidate is someone who has dark hair and light skin so that this can target that contrast and zip, zap, zappity boop, beep, bop, boop, that hair away. The other thing is that I have kind of been slacking on my glasses. I have these and you do not need these. Kenzie states that the IPL is totally safe, and because it won't even flash unless it's pressed to the skin, you're really not getting major flashes. But still, I had these, so I was like, why not just wear them? So sometimes I wear these when I'm doing my little IPL treatments and you can see through them, but you don't need these. And these are specifically IPL glasses. You can't just use sunglasses because you need to, actually protect against these specific light waves because you don't want to damage your eyes. But again, you don't need one of these. You can, and it is your choice if you want to. I had them, so I chose to, but they state that you don't need one. Now, whether or not you trust that is up to you. For me, I'd rather play it safe than sorry since it's here, but I also know that these can cost a couple $100s, and I'm like, is it worth paying a couple $100s for these glasses? No, just like close your eyes or like hide under a pillow. And again, transparency as always. There were times that I actually forgot to use my glasses and I just kind of flashed along and looked the other direction, especially if I was like, watching YouTube videos or something. YouTube videos are so addicting. The 9-foot cord is nice, I must admit, but throughout the past year, this was something that I was able to do, and they have different settings like 1 through 5. I was able to go all the way up to 5, but when I started this, I thought that it was going to be super, super scammy. And then as I continued and continued and continued, my leg hair does grow back. Softer, smoother, hardly at all on this one leg. Now here's my question. Is this going to last? That is what I want to know. I have chronicled this journey on the internet, which of course you can see. I have before and after photos to actually track my progress and see what was going on. And the first video that I did with Kenzie was in partnership, and I told them straight up, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be super blunt and super honest, and if this doesn't work, the before and afters will show it. And thankfully, they were okay with that. And the fact that they were okay with that, I was like, that's unusual, because when I tell that to brands, normally the bad ones like run away. But I explained to the brand, hey, my before and after results don't lie. And I do want to be clear, I've partnered with them on content before and on this as well. But I cannot change my personal experience nor my before and after. And knowing what it feels like to be that person who spent all of my teenage money on beauty products when I had severe acne because I was insecure and trying to make myself look and feel better, and knowing what it feels like to waste money on beauty products and treatments and tools that don't work, it pisses me off. And as your acne big sister, I take it very seriously that I test things out appropriately, or that my first impressions are extremely honest. And throughout the past year, yes, there were times that I did slip up or forget some things, and I tried to like make it up by doing like extra treatments the month after, but I am very impressed with the way that my legs look. Other than my ankles or my kneecaps, because my ankles and my kneecaps are not looking too hot right now, if I do say so myself. But here's my next question. Is the hair going to grow back? Is this going to be permanent? Remember, this Kenzie is IPL. It is not electrolysis. It is not the treatment that actually goes in and fries each hair individually into obliteration, into non-existence. And for other people like Alana Arbuki, again, English escapes me today, or for Car Beauty, like they seem to have had long-lasting results. So here is my next course of action. I'm actually going to stop IPLing my legs. I'm going to see what happens, and if my hair is gone for good forever, or if it's going to grow back, if it just grows back slowly from now on. And I think I'm actually going to potentially start doing this on my armpits. I've seen Alana use it on her, in the words of Dr. Dre, hoochie coochie bacuccio. So that is not something that I will be trying just yet. I think I am going to do my armpits though, and as you can actually see, this is like the perfect length for me to get started. I get a 5 o'clock shadow on my armpits because of my lovely genetics. So yes, that is a fun thing, but I'm going to see if my leg is even capable of growing hair ever again. So what does this mean for you and me? First off, if you're not subscribed and you don't have the like button hit, make sure that you do that, because YouTube will actually share more videos of other people's experiences and show you whether or not this is going to be right for you. If you are a Fitzpatrick type 1 or a Fitzpatrick type 6, you should absolutely not spend your money on this, because it's not going to work for you. You need to have that contrast between hair and skin. We've also spoken about side effects before from a medical perspective. If you're on blood thinners, warfarin, Coumadin, like you don't want to be using this. If you're on specific medications like doxycycline, minocycline, antibiotics that are going to thin out the skin, you don't want to use it. Some people have used this on their face because a lot of people get facial hair. I didn't know whether or not you were allowed to. Apparently, Kenzie claims that theirs is actually safe to do that. Now, if you are doing that, I wouldn't do it if you are on acne medications, or I would actually titrate those into alternating weeks. Again, the one that I got has held up. It's been a year. It's gotten a lot of flashes and it seems to work pretty good. I don't find that it heats up or burns my skin. I know that some people had Instagram DM'd me or had concerns because theirs stopped flashing, and I want you to know that when you do that, I take that information directly to Kenzie, because I do take that super seriously. And I've seen other people on YouTube who said that theirs didn't start working or that they stopped using it. And again, if it stops working, it should have 10,000 flashes, so go complain. They do have like a 30-day money back guarantee. I don't know if it's 30 days or 60 days, but they do have like a thing where if you don't like it, yes, they let you return it as long as you have pictures, which I recommend taking pictures anyways. But there are some people who are super honest about, oh, I just forgot to use it. And that is the cold, hard truth of IPL, of other beauty devices, or of anything skincare. If you don't use it, it's not gonna work. So it's one of those things, like, put it in your calendar. We have a live stream every Friday where I give away skincare and cosmetics. Make that your IPL night if this is something that you want and if you are a candidate for this, and we can do it together. I also do other live streams on Amazon on Saturday mornings now where we actually test out beauty products together. And if you'd like to come, we are giving away a new face very soon, and maybe we can even give away other things, but make that like your IPL time. Make it a routine. Same with anything in your skincare or your beauty regimen. And if you use it, that's how you can actually see whether or not it works for you. The one thing I do have to say, I do not recommend purchasing this full price. Full price, it's like $300, $400. Is it still worth it? Potentially, but there are tons of these $50 off coupons floating around the internet. Please do not pay full price when those coupons exist. There is one that I have here for you, but if you don't want to use mine, there is Car Beauty's, there's Alana Arbuki's, there's like some random ones. As long as you're using a discount, that is what I recommend. And yes, the price of one of these is literally the cost of 2 treatments in office, which why for me, it makes sense for me to test and try out, especially because I spend so much money on razors and waxing can be cumbersome and then you have to let it grow out before you can actually do it. Good luck tweezing or plucking my thousands of leg hairs. Yeah, no. But overall, this is for the person who is sick of shaving, who wants less leg hair or potentially no leg hair, who understands how it works, who is willing to not go in the sun right after they do it, maybe apply sunscreen to their legs, and who is just fed up with all of the other things that we are expected to do in order to assimilate to society. And I understand, like, I can check my privilege. I understand that the way I, as a cisgendered female, have to assimilate to society is very different than for other people. But if you have the money, if you have the means, if you have the interest, yes, this has made my life easier. So I am going to continue testing this. I'm going to continue trying this. If you'd like to try it yourself or do that with me on our weekly live streams, the link is there for you. And I do recommend watching some other people who've had experiences with this just to see what's best for you. I will link a couple of my favorite creators and their reviews down below, and that gives us a more well-rounded understanding of how these things actually work. So now, I am going to take pictures. I'm going to stop IPLing this one leg, and I'm going to start IPLing my armpits and just see what the f happens. This is going to be exciting, and I'm very happy to have you along for the ride. So do remember to reapply your sunscreen and always be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.